All right, guys, welcome back. Divisional round weekend. Dylan, welcome back. A lot of fun games. Chiefs beat Bills. Mahomes beats Allen. CJ Stroud's knocked out by Lamar Jackson, who finally proves doubters wrong in the playoffs. We got the Packers almost sneaking by the Niners. We got the Bucs and the Lions in a close game. The Lions going to the first NFC Championship since 1991. We'll talk about all that. It's crazy stuff, man.
Oh my God, man. I was watching these games on the edge of my chair, They were all, must watch.
So we're going to get into that. We'll get into some offseason topics about Belichick and Falcons' second interview. I hear some teams, I hear some people in the front office are split on him right now. I hear we got Titans hiring a new head coach. We got Raiders hiring a new GM. We'll talk about all that. We'll get into predictions for next week. Keep subscribing, and sharing, guys. Thanks for all the support. We're going to keep pushing content out. After the Super Bowl, we're going to get into, some stuff with the draft, free agency. Maybe we'll list our top 5 quarterbacks coming into the draft. So just keep subscribing, sharing. All right, let's do it. So Chiefs-Bills, Dylan. Mahomes beats Allen again in the playoffs, and the Bills really wanted revenge from that 13-second game a few years ago. And, it's tough because Josh Allen played really well in this game. Mahomes played really well in this game. It was a classic back-and-forth Mahomes-Allen battle, and I love to see it.
We all love to see it. I mean, I had my doubts with the Chiefs this season. They were fighting all sorts of adversity, with wide receivers. They didn't know who their number one was. They don't know who's going to actually catch a ball. Mahomes didn't trust his receivers. But, when it came time for postseason, everyone showed up. They've been there before. They know what to do. So it was very impressive. But on the other hand, the Bills, it felt like they should have had this win, but I don't want to put this loss on Josh Allen. He did everything he had to do. It just comes down to coaching and play calling and stuff like that,
I wouldn't put this on Josh Allen either. I mean, I feel like he played like a stud in this game. Yes, he had a critical fumble, and if the Chiefs would have recovered that would have cost them the game too. So I understand. He turns the ball over sometimes. He's a little reckless. I like to call him the modern-day Brett Favre. But, I mean, he also has things that don't go his way either, like just Stephon Diggs on the deep pass dropping that ball. He was missing Gabe Davis, and he still looked like a stud out there, Josh Allen. I thought he had a great game. I thought he proved a lot of the doubters wrong. Like, he had a shot to bring his team to the AFC Championship game, but, it could have gone either way. I don't really think there was a negative for each team in this game. I feel like the Chiefs played really well, the Bills played really well.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, Josh Allen's been phenomenal. Let me just give you this stat. He's the first quarterback to have 4 consecutive seasons with 40-plus total touchdowns. That's pretty crazy.
That's elite.
That's something.
I mean,
he's carrying this team on his shoulders.
I mean, let's be honest. He's one of the greatest quarterback talents that I think we've ever seen. Is he the greatest quarterback we've ever seen? No, but he's one of the greatest talents we've ever seen. He's like a unicorn. I mean, the way he looks when he plays, he's like one of the funnest quarterbacks to ever watch. I think him and Lamar are up there right now for the league right now. And I just think that the Bills need to add another receiver in the offseason. I think Stephon Diggs has shown clear regression here. I like their 2 tight ends, but Gabe Davis is hit or miss, and he was hurt at the end of the season. I like the guy Shakir. He's showing some promise. Yeah. James Cook needs to step it up, but they definitely need another receiver.
So I really feel like they should trade Stephon Diggs. I feel like they would excel without him, when you don't have to rely on that one target. We see what he's doing with all his other receivers and tight ends, and it's working. But with Stephon Diggs, he's kind of like I don't want to say a ball hog, but he's kind of like, give me the ball now.
He's got an AJ Brown quality to him, where if he doesn't get the ball, he gets a little annoyed.
And honestly, I don't know if he's good enough to have that quality.
Not anymore, no. Especially at the last half of this season, he's been pedestrian, pretty pedestrian.
Yeah, it kind of becomes toxic a little bit. But with this game, I feel like it's more of the play calling, like that fake punt.
The fake punt.
That was, what were they doing?
That was crazy.
They were down by, 3 points going into the fourth quarter. They had a whole nother quarter.
And what were they, on their own 30 something?
On their own 30.
We all love Lamar Hamlin.
Yeah, no.
Don't get us wrong, but.
I mean, listen.
How many snaps has he taken this season, realistically? Not a lot, even on special teams.
They got to kind of think smarter. Like, what are you doing? And then, I mean, listen, this could have gone either way because apparently they only had 10 people on the field too. So
I think that's part of the reason why they did it, but it's still risky on your own 30-yard line. I wouldn't have done it even after seeing that because there's such risk reward there. It's not worth it. And they got very lucky with the touchback that McCall Hardman had in the fumble. So they got very lucky. They got the ball right back. But those are kind of the losing plays that the Bills had that cost them a season in the playoffs. So sometimes, and I kind of feel bad for Bills fans a little bit, even though I'm a Jets fan. Obviously, I feel bad for them a little bit because they have the star quarterback. they have these great games against the Chiefs, and they show their quarterback can go toe-to-toe with the best quarterback in the league, one of the best quarterbacks ever, Patrick Mahomes. Josh Allen can go toe-to-toe with him. The gap between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes is not as far off as people think. And they cannot get to a Super Bowl. They only got the one conference championship, and they got killed by the Chiefs in that one. And even if they got lost to Lamar in Baltimore next week, I still feel like people would have been happy about their outcome this season because a lot of fans and media saw the Bills as like, this is kind of a lost season. They're probably not even going to make the playoffs. And they won 5 straight games. I think there's something to be said about that with McDermott. So good job on his end.
Yeah, for sure. But on the other hand, I do want to mention, look at the Chiefs organization. Look at Andy Reid. He's a phenomenal coach, and you could have a good quarterback, but you really need kind of both on your hands. Like, look at the Chargers. They have one of the best quarterbacks, and they're doing awful, less than 500. A team like that should, if they had like a Andy Reid or Jim Harbaugh, then you would see them like excel. But it all comes down to really the head coach and how well he's coaching the team.
So do you think he needs to be fired?
At this point, you got to start looking over your options, honestly.
I would give him one more season. If they fail to reach the AFC Championship game, I would let him go because, like, I think it's looking like they've almost hit a ceiling with this coach. Like, he knows how to lead them to the playoffs, but then when it comes time to beat Mahomes in the playoffs, you need an offensive play caller. You need someone to go toe-to-toe with the mastermind, Andy Reid. I know he calls the defensive play, so technically he's going toe-to-toe with him, head-to-head, but you want an offensive schemer because that's where you're going to maximize Josh Allen's potential and your wide receiver's potential. And right now you have a defensive guy, and you have an offensive coordinator that's on an interim job because you fired your offensive coordinator. So you need an offensive coach, but I would give him one more year because he's just shown enough. I mean, he made the playoffs with Tyrod Taylor. I mean, that team was a joke, that Bills team. And, he's shown that he's led this franchise from the dumpster, the garbage. They were trash. They were one of the worst teams in the league. And now he's made them a respectable franchise. So I think he gets some credit for that. Yeah. So I would give him another season. But I would start to feel wary if I was Bill fans.
For sure. I mean, get another offensive coach in there at least and, see what you can do with.
For the Chiefs, sorry, keep going.
No, you're good because just their offensive plays is okay, but I feel like they can be so much better, with the right coach in there.
Very true. So as for the Chiefs, now to bring that up, the Chiefs, now they're going to play Baltimore. It's going to be tough for them. I mean, I can't count them out though because they have that, like I said, they have kind of like a Tom Brady, Bill Belichick quality where they get into playoff mode and it's just like they kind of like that game that they played against Buffalo. It was vintage, just like. Even though they don't have the talent they used to, it was just everything was clicking. Look at Valdez-Scantling. Look at the game he had. Look at the catches he had. Where did that come from?
Came out of nowhere.
Exactly. So Kelsey too stepped up, fresh legs. I mean, looks like a different player. So it's just like all of a sudden, all these guys are coming alive. You got Pacheco, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the good run. So it's just all of a sudden things start to come together.
They see that Super Bowl ring and they're like, okay, it's time to go.
6 straight AFC Championship games for Patrick Mahomes. He has never not been in an AFC Championship game since he's been a starter in the league. So I
think he's like 13-2 in the playoffs.
This was his first road playoff game. He's been home every playoff game. That's it. So he's either had the 1 seed or a top seed every time. That's pretty crazy. Jordan Love and his Packers, all first, second, third-year guys on offense, almost beat the mighty 49ers. And Brock Purdy, a little bit of cold weather, has a glove on, skipping passes to Christian McCaffrey. I don't know, man. I don't know about Brock Purdy anymore. I think he's a good quarterback. I never thought he was a top 5 guy. And people kind of went crazy over him. I think he was rightfully deserved the MVP consideration because he was having a great year. It goes to the guy having the best year, and he was having a great year. But, he's showing now when things go even the tiniest bit wrong, Debo hurt, you're missing your left tackle, even slightest bit bad weather, struggle. So what do you think about that?
That's fine and all. I mean, yes, it was pouring out. I mean, you got to take that into consideration. But you got to understand, this is the first full season for both these quarterbacks. This is a game where you have 2 quarterbacks that this is their first year in it. And both of them first playoff run. And obviously, Jordan Love's showing more potential than Purdy is. But like I said, it's the first year, so you still got to give it time. You can't say he's a bad quarterback or he's a system of the offense. You really got to let it play out. So see how he develops.
I understand that completely. I agree. You give it more time. Maybe we have to really see what's going to happen next season. Can Jordan Love follow up on this? Can Purdy follow up? Because he had a great season too. But my thing with these 2 quarterbacks, and the biggest thing that I've taken from this season is Jordan Love has been doing this without his best player on offense for most of the season, Aaron Jones. Brock Purdy, he's had all those guys, and when he hasn't had all those guys, he struggled. So it's just showing me that Jordan Love can do more, like carry a little bit more than Brock Purdy can. But Brock Purdy's more than capable. Anyone that throws 30 touchdown passes in a season, there's something to be said about that.
Yeah.
That's not easy. That's a good season for any quarterback, 30 touchdown passes. So there's something to be said about that. He's a top 12, 13 quarterback in my opinion. I just don't think he's a top 5 guy. I think most people could agree with that. So
I mean, it's all about developing. I mean, you look at Jordan Love the first few games, you would be,
oh yeah,
you would
absolutely.
be amazed about how he's playing this week.
It's the last
So it's
couple
all about
weeks.
developing.
It is. And then offensive head coach, this is what I'm talking about. Maybe I'm not saying Josh Allen needs developing, but like bringing in an offensive guy, having them mold a quarterback into what they want him to be, it's beneficial to them. So let's just go through a couple pieces that the Packers have drafted in the last couple seasons. Man, Rodgers was crazy for leaving this team. They got Dontavian Wicks in the 5th round, looks like a stud. Jaden Reed in the 2nd round, looks like a stud. Christian Watson in the 2nd round of 2022 draft. Romeo Doubs in the 4th round of the 2022 draft. Both their tight ends rookie tight ends this season drafted in the 2nd and 3rd round, Musgrave and Kraft.
And
Kraft too.
Yeah.
Kraft's been pretty good too. So it's just they have so much
guys,
talent
yeah.
on that offense, and they're all first, second year guys. And you got your quarterback, Jordan Love, who's looked like a complete baller, man. He, in my opinion, is obviously, I think right now it's fair to say that he is a better quarterback than Brock Purdy. He has more talent. Yeah, he has more upside. He's performs more. Yes, exactly.
Sure. And Aaron Jones, man, I know he's 29 years old now, but he's honestly, he was doing a mirror image of Christian McCaffrey. He was having himself a day.
Is he the second best running back after McCaffrey? He's right there. I think he's number 2. He might be number 2 in the league when he's healthy. He's a stud.
This season, yeah, definitely.
Think about it though. He missed a lot of games this season, which is always his problem, his bugaboo, injuries. But when he's healthy, he showed game 1 this season. Completely went off against Chicago before he got hurt, and then the end of the season, complete stud again. So when he's healthy, he's a top 5 running back.
I think they get him for one more year, and then they gotta come up with the deal. But
yeah.
At this point, I mean, he was the type of guy. He restructured his contract, took less money.
He's smart.
It's not like he's a guy that you got to worry about. Is gonna
selfish.
Yeah. This Packer team, they're a team that's going to be a dangerous team in maybe a year, maybe 2 years from now. But it's definitely a team you got to watch out for.
Early hot take for next season. I think the Packers are going to win the NFC North. I think the Packers are a legit Super Bowl contender next season. They had a few pieces on defense. Maybe get some more linemen. They're ready, man. They are ready. So
this Lions team is still very young too. So I feel like this is. They haven't hit.
They're going to be I think that's going to be a great matchup for years to come. Packers Lions. So.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a good one.
But moving forward, Bucs Lions. Let's go on to that close game, man. I was very impressed with the Bucs in this game. They had a chance. There was a time in this game where I was like, "Wow, are the Bucs going to go to the NFC Championship game?" So they should be happy with themselves. I mean, Baker had a great season. I think the Bucs will bring him back. I think it's nonsense. People's talking about, he should shop around in free agency. It's like, you have a perfect situation here. What are you doing? But we'll get into that another day, another time, another place. Lions going to the first NFC Championship game since 1991. They have a shot at winning the Super Bowl. They have a shot going to the Super Bowl. I think they match up well with the Niners. We'll get into the picks later, but congrats to the Lions. Congrats to Jared Goff, who's been comfortable this whole playoff run.
I mean, listen, the Bucs, this is another team, you kind of just didn't expect them to be in this position at all. And, Baker seems, I don't know, we kind of was always waiting for that moment. When is Baker going to fold? But he was looking phenomenal all the way through the playoffs. I mean, even in this game, he was looking stellar.
He was.
And I think he definitely bought himself a year with this organization. I don't know if he's your franchise quarterback, but he's definitely making a case for him to be.
He definitely made a strong case this season. I think this was his best season because he was so calm, cool, collected. Mm-hmm. I think he's matured at the podium. I think he's a leader. I feel his aura even when he's on the field. I think guys gravitate towards him. I just think he's a relatable guy, and people like him.
I want to bring this back to Brock Purdy. So he kind of reminds me of Brock Purdy because you know how Baker he was put on a great team. He was expected to excel well with a bunch of good players, and then he completely shit the bed.
There's one huge difference to that. Baker was the number 1 overall pick. Brock Purdy was the last pick. Brock Purdy's on the best team in the league. Baker Mayfield went to the worst team in the league. So very.
The Browns got quite.
They
a few
did,
pieces.
but you got to remember at the time when they drafted him, they had the number 1 overall pick, so they weren't that good. So let's remember that. It wasn't that far long ago. So yes, he had a lot riding on his shoulders, but I also think he throws a better ball than Brock Purdy. But Brock Purdy, I think there's something to be said about Brock Purdy being able to distribute the ball to his stars. There's something look. don't want to hate on Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy actually, I think right now is slightly better than Baker Mayfield, but the gap's not that far off. Let's just, Baker Mayfield's a top 20 quarterback in the
All I'm
league.
saying is I think Brock Purdy would do just fine on the right team. It doesn't have to be with all studs around him.
Well,
I feel like it's
that's
just
the key, though.
It's just
The
a lot
right
of
team.
pressure on him. So anytime he does something wrong,
It's the Niners. They get criticized.
magnified
It's almost like
by 100.
it's almost like the Cowboy effect. Like just a big team, big brand. Like you're gonna get criticized. You're the best, one of the best teams in the league. But key word you just said. In the right situation, right team. That's the thing. He can't fit on every team, any team, because he's not like a superstar. Like put him on the Patriots, they wouldn't be as good. I mean, well, he wouldn't be as good. Let's be honest. They would be better than they are now. Trust me, with Mac Jones, they would be better, but he wouldn't be as good. So, but
you don't know. You don't know. I mean, listen, the Patriots have a lot more issues than just their quarterback.
well, it's a systemic problem. Well, now they have a new head coach and everything, so we'll see how that works out. But as far as the Lions, like I said, matching up well with the Niners, it's going to be a good game. But like their defense still kind of worries me. Like the Bucs kind of put up they were throwing the ball all over the place around, and they made stops when they had to, but against this Niners team, the Debo injury is going to be huge, but they're going to have to stop them when they need to. They're going to have to make big stops in this game, maybe to get some turnovers, pressure Brock Purdy, get Hutchinson involved, and he's going to have to make stupid throws, and you're going to have to pick the ball off. So
I mean, both of these teams, like this week, they were having problems on their defense, leaving guys wide open. Like, I know it was raining in San Francisco, but there was guys slipping and falling everywhere, and Jordan Love would be hitting them wide open.
I know.
So I don't know how the condition's going to be like, but they got to be stepping up on defense for either of these teams to win.
For sure. So Texans Ravens. I mean, I just want to not congratulate them, but I want to applaud the Texans, C.J. Stroud, D'Amico Ryans. What a season! They were tied 10-10 at halftime with the Ravens, but then the wheels kind of came off. The Ravens are the better team. I think we all knew that was going to happen. Yeah. It would have been nice to see C.J. Stroud in the AFC Championship game. It would have been a good story. Yeah. But I was rooting for Lamar here. Look, people have criticized him about the playoffs. I knew this season was going to be different because he's been a different player. He's grown as a pocket passer. He runs anytime he wants to. That's the key. He chooses when to run. He doesn't just twitch. He doesn't just run all the time anymore. Mm-hmm. So I think there's something to be said about Lamar Jackson winning this playoff game. I mean, in the first half, there was a little shaky, but then he really got rolling in the second half. So congratulations to Lamar. Congratulations to the Ravens. And they might get Mark Andrews back this week. So on top of likely, who?
I mean, Isaiah Likely, that's just going to be a great...
Do they even need him? Do they even need him anymore? You got Isaiah Likely? No, I know that obviously he's one of their best players, but I'm saying, the way they're rolling right now, do you even really need him? Like, it's kind of like a figure of speech. Look at how good their offense has been right now with Likely and
you're saying Flowers. Do they need Mark Andrews? Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
It's do they even need him at this point?
Obviously,
they can. He's one of the best tight ends in the league,
but
obviously.
It's just another person,
Exactly, it's just a plus. Yes, icing on the cake.
You're going to have tight ends coming in and out, so they're going to have a lot more energy, so it's just going to be a lot better for them.
Yeah, now you're gonna have a 2 tight end offense. Like Likely wasn't really getting involved before Andrews went down, and now he's like really taking on. He's like one of their best weapons.
And we forgot, he's like a top 5 tight end. So
yeah, now you get exactly
in playoff mode too.
Yeah, but let's hope. Even if he's not 100% healthy, Mark Andrews doesn't matter because you got pieces everywhere.
Exactly.
So
and Lamar's legs itself. They could win the game itself.
Exactly. So it's hard to bet against the Chiefs, but it's looking good for the Ravens going into this week home. We'll get into that, but first we'll get into some things around the league before we get into our predictions. The Eagles, they got some things going on. Both their coordinators are going to be gone. They fired Sean Desai, the defensive coordinator, and they're parting ways with Brian Johnson, the offensive coordinator. He's not expected to return. It hasn't happened yet, but he's not expected to come back. So they're going to need 2 new coordinators. This is going to be a big year. It looks like Sirianni's going to stay. So this is going to be a big year for him. He better hire the 2 right coordinators, and they need to bounce back next season. Get back to the NFC Championship game. So a lot of pressure on this team going into next season.
I don't know if it's Nick Sirianni just pointing fingers, but something had to be done with this team.
Yeah, and obviously that was
you can tell there's like a lot of talent everywhere, but they just couldn't really. They just didn't have that blowout quality. They didn't have that defense that will just shut you down. So they just need to get something going. But I don't know. I didn't know if Nick Sirianni was going to come back this season.
Well, yeah, I didn't either. I think there was a big point where he was there was a point where he was really on the hot seat, but they would have been a little irrational because you were just in the Super Bowl last season and you were close to winning that Super Bowl. So let's give it one more season. I agree with that. Let's get some new coordinators in there and let's see what happens. Hey, maybe he takes over play calling against Sirianni. He shows his value. I doubt that happens, but they need to get some good coordinators in there for sure.
Glad they did something though.
Yeah, so they had it. I mean, it had to be done. We all knew that was going to happen. So let's move on to Titans. Titans are going to hire the Bengals offensive coordinator, Brian Callahan, as head coach. I'm not too familiar with him. And I thought Zach Taylor called the plays there, but maybe he had a heavy influence with that offense. Maybe he's part of that coaching tree where his name is thrown out there a lot. So maybe this is a good move for them. Offensive guy to bring in for Will Levis. Derrick Henry's probably not going to be back next season, so maybe they're going to start to develop a pass-heavy offense instead of being run with Derrick Henry. So things are changing now in Tennessee.
Yeah, we'll see because they I don't know if they're going to be keeping Derrick Henry either. You're going to have to re-sign him, right? So there's a lot of question marks going on of how he's going to run the offense.
Going into the next piece of news here, the Raiders are expecting to hire Tom Telesco, the former Chargers GM that just got fired, as their next GM. I thought he did a good job putting together the roster for the Chargers. Now, he did hire the head coach. That's a problem because that head coach was terrible. So he does get criticism for that. But I thought I think he can put together a good, decent roster from what he's done with the Chargers. So I think this could work. They already have their head coach, so he doesn't need to worry about that. So put together this roster. They already have pieces too. You got to rebuild some pieces on this defense, even though they had like one of the best defenses in the league at the end of the season since Pierce took over. So they're right there. Just get a few more pieces. They need quarterback, obviously. Quarterback. So we'll see what they do there. Kirk Cousins seems like a good fit there, but I don't know what's going to happen with Devontae Adams in the offseason either because I'm hearing Jets a lot, man. I'm hearing Jets.
I don't know. Like after after Pierce stepped in, I feel like his mood kind of just changed.
You're right, though.
The whole facility. Everyone
right.
has been playing different ever since then. You have Devontae Adams and you have Josh Jacobs. Those are two stars right there. You just build around them, and you can have a really good offense right there.
So we'll see.
I don't know if Jimmy G's the answer though.
He's not. That's why they benched him. So obviously O'Connell's not the answer either. Good backup, but
So you got to figure out what you're doing.
Kirk Cousins. His contract's up, right? That could be a decent spot.
Yeah. I think he would work well there.
Yeah, so, a lot of things to get into in the offseason. We'll save that for a more important time after the season's over, more like, end of February, early March. Now, last piece of news here. Belichick had a second interview with the Falcons, obviously, some time ago. I'm hearing rumors. I don't know if this is necessarily true, but I could understand why it would be true, that the building is split on him. Some people want him, some people don't want him. I get it. I never thought this was a great fit to begin with, but I would take Bill Belichick, my head coach, like in a heartbeat, obviously, especially like a team like the Falcons. Like if I was the Falcons, I would be all in on this. Get Bill Belichick in the building. Get our team a real head coach. If I was Bill Belichick, I would be giving giving a little pushback. Like I don't know if
it's the other way around. The way they're
I know
saying
it seems like it's split. But does Belichick want to go there? Maybe Belichick's trying to flex his muscles, but this is the first team that's trying to show that he has value. Like this team's obsessed with him. I don't know what's really going on. I never really thought it was the best fit in the world to begin with. It's not a terrible fit, but we'll see. Apparently that's loosened some steam now. Belichick to the Chargers. Belichick to the Falcons. Speaking of Chargers, apparently Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers is gaining steam. Yeah, so that might happen.
I think that's going to happen any week now, and that's a perfect fit.
You need a coach, and he is a coach. He gets every team he's went to. He's changed the culture and has turned around and has improved. And this team needs a head coach to set a culture, set a standard, and hold people accountable. So
if there's a time to go from college coach to NFL coach, now is the time.
And then Seattle, I think, is like one of the best jobs out there.
For sure.
You got a team ready to make a run. So
who do you think is gonna be the GM there or the
head coach of the Seahawks? I've been hearing Dan Quinn's name a lot out there, former defensive coordinator of the Seahawks. What do I think is the best fit for the Seahawks? I like Ben Johnson on the Lions, the offensive coordinator. I think you need to bring in an offensive guy, get a quarterback in there because they need, their defense is kind of lacking too. So I would get why they would go defense, but I guess Ben Johnson, to me, would be a good fit there. Offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, I think. I would go with that name. I thought they had a better roster than the Rams. So the fact that, they were out and the Rams were in, and the Rams beaten twice, was kind of embarrassing. So something had to be done there. But, okay, so let's get into our picks for the conference championship games. Let's go to the AFC Championship game. We got the Chiefs, the 3 seed, at the Ravens, 1 seed. Dylan, who do you got?
I said it from the beginning. The Ravens, they're going to win the Super Bowl. They're just that team. They could beat any team in the NFL right now. The Chiefs, they're really good. They have been getting a lot of momentum in the playoffs. Playoffs Chiefs, scary picture. But the Ravens, it's just their time right now.
So the Chiefs, it's hard to bet against the Chiefs because they are just that team in the playoffs that seems to win no matter what's going wrong for them at the time. Like their roster, like they've had a couple seasons even in the past when they struggled and they still went on a run and made a Super Bowl. But I absolutely agree. Lamar, I think this is his year. I think this is the Ravens' year. If they don't win a Super Bowl this year, it's going to be a massive disappointment. So I think they win this game. And I also do think they end up winning the Super Bowl. But that we'll save that for another time. I think they just have a better roster than the Chiefs. And Lamar right now is playing like the better quarterback. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson. He's an all-timer. They're both all-timers. But Mahomes is in another level than Lamar. Lamar is playing... Right now, Lamar's playing better than Mahomes. Yeah. Lamar's on the tear.
Lamar changes the game. I mean, listen... His wide receivers don't even need to show up, and he'll get it done.
He'll just run around,
exactly.
and then they all cave in, and then you just throw it over the top, or you take over a run. He's just like the options with him are unlimited. So I think the Chiefs are going to have their answer.
I feel like these two quarterbacks are very similar, but I feel like Lamar's feet are just so much more stellar and something you have to worry about more, and that's why the defenses kind of pick up on that, and then you have guys wide open.
Exactly, but I mean, both these defenses it's going to be really tough to score points in this game because one's probably going to be cold in Baltimore, and two, you have two really good defenses here. I think the Chiefs secondary is a little better than the Ravens secondary, but at the same time, you got Kyle Hamilton back there, so it's really, I mean, it's an even match defensively. It's the offense that. It's a kind of Ravens have the edge because you got all those wide receivers. You get Mark Andrews back. That's just like we said, only a plus. You have Likely and Mark Andrews, and it doesn't matter what running back's back there because they're all effective. Because when Lamar does the read option, they all buy in Lamar. So when they buy in Lamar and he hands it up to the running back, they're all running with Lamar, and then there's a big hole for the running back. So it doesn't really matter.
I mean, and then you have the run game too. He fakes it, take it, run out of the pocket, and he's gone.
It's like you can do no wrong, but I do think the Chiefs play close in this game. They're the Kansas City Chiefs. It's Andy Reid, it's Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey. They're not going to go down without a fight. This might even be a game that goes to overtime, but the Ravens are going to win this game. So let's get into that NFC Championship matchup. We got the Niners, we got the Detroit Lions, 3 seed. Back in the NFC Championship game for the first time in, I don't know, what is it, almost over 30 years. It's the San Francisco 49ers, who seem to always be in the NFC Championship game. This is their third season in a row in the NFC Championship game. So, who do you got, Dylan? Go.
I got to take the Lions here.
Wow. You're going to take the Lions going back to the first ever Super Bowl? You got the Detroit Lions going to the first ever Super Bowl.
Yes.
Nice.
I mean, I said it in the beginning of the season. I was very high on the Lions for the amount of talent that they have all around their offense, their head coach, and they've been showing it these last few weeks. I feel like this is a game where you got to look at the quarterback and say, who's the better quarterback here? And it's going to be Goff.
It's tough for me, man. I've been going back and forth with this all week. I've been leaning Lions, but I got to go with the San Francisco 49ers. I just think, I think this is their year. They got to go back to the Super Bowl because if you don't, you're going to have questions about this quarterback. I think Brock Purdy comes through this game, even with or without Debo. I think Brock Purdy's going to hear the narrative around him and step up when the moment matters most. And I don't think this game matters as much for the Lions as it does for the Niners. The Lions, in a way, are happy to be here. They haven't been here in the longest time. The Niners are hungry for that Super Bowl, and they got players there that have been waiting for it for a long time. So I think, look at that offense. I mean, the defense is the defense. The Lions underperformed and everything, but I think that offense is going to come ready. Kittle has been waiting for this. McCaffrey been waiting for this. I think they're going to come to play, and I think Purdy's going to step up. The key to this game is you're going to have Kyle Shanahan's going to have to adjust because Dan Campbell is going to be throwing surprises at him left and right.
Yeah.
He's going to be faking, going for it, doing wacky stuff. So Kyle Shanahan is going to have to be on his toes, and he's going to have to adjust at times because you're not always going to win with the formula you go into the game with. So that's going to be a key here. This is going to be close. I think it's going to be closer than the Chiefs-Ravens.
The only reason why I'm kind of leaning more on the Lions, the Packers were cooking up the 49ers defense, and that's the only thing I'm worried about here. The run, it's kind of like you don't know what they're going to go with, and like heavy on the run game, or they're going to be airing it out. But either way, they're going to need to step up here.
See, I get what you're saying, but the Lions defense was getting gashed too. It's like I don't really trust that Lions secondary, and I think when Purdy has people when things are in rhythm and he has people that he has to anticipate the throw kind of running open, he hits them every time. So it's when things get a little shaky, then he gets a little unraveled and gets a little nervous and kind of chokes a little bit. But the Lions defense isn't that kind of defense that's going to make you choke a little bit. Sometimes they get a pass rush, don't get me wrong, but you can kind of have your way with them a little bit here. The Niners have their way on offense. They're going to win this game. So if you let the Niners play their offense and then the Lions play their offense, the Niners offense will be better better than the Lions offense, in my opinion. I mean, it's very close. It is close, but I would take the Niners guys over the Lions guys right now.
I see what you're saying.
At one point, I was leading Lions, but I got to go with the Niners here. I think it's like I've said going into the playoffs, it's going to be Niners Ravens Super Bowl. I'm going to end it with that. Niners Ravens Super Bowl.
Okay. Well, I have a Ravens Lions Super Bowl.
It's going to be exciting regardless. So we both got the Chiefs losing, I guess. So that's really the one that we both think is going to be knocked out. But I still think the fact that they're even here is going to be
very impressive.
Exactly.
Yes.
So
I mean, like all the adversity, all the drops, all the offsides, all the penalties. They got it together and they were able to do it. So 6 times in a row.